Atlanta at New Orleans. Marco, what should bettors be looking at?
Well, I think there's value here this week. The Saints, public perception, even though they're 2-0, public perception is this is a team that, really kind of got lucky 2 weeks in a row. Could easily be 1-1 or 0-2 with 2 close wins.
All right, so you're looking at this number and saying New Orleans -4. Field goal is typically the home field in the NFL. New Orleans is probably the best, most significant home field in the NFL. So let's say it's 3.5 maybe. So we're almost saying these are even teams.
Which is shocking. One of them's the defending Super Bowl champ.
That's 2-0.
That's 2-0, and you've got Atlanta that's 1-1 and had a blowout win last week over Arizona that everybody said was in total disarray because...
And Atlanta got manhandled by the Steelers on the road with a third-string quarterback.
Exactly.
All right, so now the question becomes, the value player says value, value, value on the Saints. This line opening weekend, you would think would be 6, right?
Absolutely. I mean, they're laying less.
Value, right?
Value.
But now the question becomes, is you usually say, wait a minute, this is a trap because they're making it so appealing to play the Saints. I want to take the Falcons with the short money or with the short, points back. Now, what is that? Where's your head at on this?
The reason why I don't think it's a trap is because the public perception, as I opened with, is looking at the Saints and saying, they barely got by Minnesota, and Minnesota turns around and loses to Miami and only scores 10 points at home.
All right, so you're saying even though they are the defending champs, this is legitimate value because the public is so disenchanted with the Saints?
Right, and then Monday night, remember, they played the Niners, who just got drilled by Seattle the week before. Seattle come back in week 2 and got drilled by Denver. So it just makes that win by 3 points at the gun look, bad for New Orleans.
Well, plus they had multiple turnovers, and I actually liked the Saints Monday night, and it was the wrong side, even though they could have covered. Reggie Bush factor, clearly. What number of points, objective number of points, do you put on Reggie Bush being out?
Well, you've got to put a point. You probably got to put a point there for Reggie Bush, but I'm going to put 1 for him. I'm going to be quick to point out, and I got injured last week, but even the 2 weeks, the Saints haven't been able to run the ball at all, even when Reggie Bush was healthy. They've ran the ball for 79 and 50 yards in the first 2 games. You can't just throw the ball in the NFL every single down. You can't do it. You've got to get the running game going somewhat.
The public in general, I think, and this is one of your reoccurring handicapping concepts, overreacts to injuries, and there usually is a counter to the injuries in the first game where the other team says, or the team with the injured player says, well, we got to step it up. It would seem to me, I think this line would be higher than 4 if Reggie Bush was in. I think the public, the combination of what you're talking about, combined with the fact that Bush is being overrated, the effect, I guess, of the Bush absence is being overrated. So I think it's a double whammy when it comes to the value on the Saints side.
Absolutely. And one of the other things that the public will be looking at is the Falcons have played them tough. I mean, the last few games, 3 of them, in fact, the last 3 games, Atlanta and New Orleans have been decided by 8 points or less in this series.
Okay, so here's what concerns me a little bit. The expert, ESPN is great for a lot of things. And one of them is their game-by-game breakdown. You got guys like, Ron Jaworski, NFL quarterback, got an office at NFL Films. He's breaking the game down with a 22-man shot. I mean, he understands a lot of this, and it's better if we can take that expertise and then apply it to the point spread. There's a lot of value there. It seemed like the reoccurring theme with his Bush absence was, though his stats didn't show it, him as needing to be accounted for by the defense was so important into this Saints scheme. Do you think maybe that we're underrating his absence?
There's no question. I mean, that is an absolutely great point, that even though a guy may not be productive in the stat number, when they send him out of the backfield, on a third down play, you've got to account for him in the passing game. It is a factor.
So is he maybe worth more than the point? And maybe this is a legitimately short line?
It's tough to say because, the backup's name escapes me, but obviously he's not going to be as good as Reggie Bush. But for one game, we find that these guys generally rise to the occasion.
So you're saying potentially looking to fade New Orleans next week. Wow, we got some construction going on back there. All right, but we don't stop. We just keep plugging along. All right, give us your projection.
I'm going to actually go with the value here. I'm going to think New Orleans finds a way to get it done.
Maybe it's a guy that you lost. Did you lose yesterday?
No, actually, I won.
Maybe they're pounding on the door trying to get in. I'm sorry, give us the projection.
New Orleans, 31-24.
31-24. All right, last question. Saints have looked amazing in the first drive in both games. Literally touchdown. And then not much offense after that, especially for the rest of the half. Are you tempted to look at the Saints as a first quarter bet? It seems like that Peyton's ability to script, a la Bill Walsh back in the day, those first possessions, they look like world beaters, and you don't have many other how many possessions are there in a first quarter? If they get a touchdown every first quarter, they're going to be covering a lot of numbers. Are you tempted to look at a first quarter on the Saints?
That's a good point, and unfortunately for me, I'll be totally honest. Being an old school guy, betting quarter bets and first half bets is something that I haven't delved into. It's just trying to teach an old dog new tricks. I just haven't been able to wrap my mind around it.
Well, that's an honest answer. So maybe this is a great example. Maybe this is a great example of how when we continue this discussion in the comment section, you guys can jump in and talk about the first quarter here or anything else. And next up, we're going to be talking New York Jets at Miami Sunday Night Football.